Dear learner, welcome to our next session, that is Gandhian approach to understanding social problem. So earlier we have talked about types of social research, approaches to various social research, and today we will be talking about Gandhian approach to understand social problems. And it's very important because this is a part of Gandhian peace studies. So we'll be talking today about Gandhian approach and how Gandhi approached social problem, because he may not be a social scientist, but he was a very important leader of 20th century, and who understood social problem and found solution for that. We'll be discussing about how Mahatma Gandhi as a social thinker thought about society. And social research also always we use for social progress, human progress, and leaders like Gandhi and many public leaders, they also bring changes that is very much important for social progress. Though Mahatma Gandhi was not an academician, but he brought very important change in not only Indian society, but even in other countries wherever he was there, in South Africa and in many Indian diaspora. Gandhi believed in the unity of human life. Gandhi thinks that the human life you cannot separate from other sphere. In fact, everything is as a synthetic whole, and we are all interrelated, and we cannot compartmentalize our religious life, political life, social life, and family life, and all this. One place we react, it creates action in other place. So these are all very much interrelated. And he is of view that there can be no problem that is purely moral, economic, political, social, individual, and collective. Gandhi has experimented with the real life world. Real life world means wherever he lived, he experimented there and found solution. Gandhi's whole life was lived in conformity with certain basic principles and was therefore integrated and coordinated. It made a harmonious whole. His teachings and schemes of reform also reflect the same integration and coordination. In this unit, we will be talking about Gandhian approach to social problems, main issues highlighted by Gandhi as a social scientist, though not in a strict sense he was a social scientist, rather he was a creative thinker, but we will be discussing about that. Third, we will be talking about the problems and issues a researcher faces while understanding Gandhian approach to social problems. Here, let's see what are the major characteristics of Gandhian approach. Actually, Gandhi was not a social scientist in a strict sense, but his impact was so much. Social scientists study his philosophy today, his activities today. As Acharya J.B. Kripalani puts it, if there was a planner without elaborate blueprint, Gandhi was one. Sometimes Gandhi was thinking much ahead of his time, and many of his academic experiments are academically very relevant. And this is where Gandhi stands very distinctively. He was not a theorist. He was primarily a man of action, or what we call karma yogi. He himself admitted, I am not built for academic writings. Action is my domain. What I understood according to my lights to be my duty, and what comes my way, I do. He is also a man of practice and experiment. As soon as Gandhi had an idea or a plan, he tried to put it into practice and induced others to do likewise. In the latter case, he had naturally to explain his ideas and plan, but in the explanation were beliefs unsuited to the person, place, and occasions. Gandhi was very creative, as I mentioned, and his actions are mostly mm, taken when he is convinced. So thought to action was very much important when you understand Gandhi's idea of social problems, popularizing his ideas and converting the people to his own way, thinking of and action. Gandhi was a practical reformer. All of you know Gandhi, had lots of reformative activities, whether it is about village life, whether it is untouchability, whether it is how to unite various groups and communities. He has he has done lots of reform by because of his unique approach. For example, non-violence and tolerance. These are all ways he applied to unite various communities. The result is that from the point of view of theory, there are not only gaps that need fulfilling, but also apparent contradiction that need to be reconciled in the light of his thought as a whole. Gandhi was, the second characteristic when you talk about Gandhi, his ideas are creative and revolutionary. Often we cannot relate to his time also because these are often very much, futuristic. Gandhi, whatever their external from the presentation and expression, Gandhi's ideas are new and revolutionary. They rise out of the creative mind of an individual to whose reforming zeal the social situation and difficulties of those times are a challenge. For him, the historical precedents and examples are no barrier to fresh thinking and discovery. Gandhi did not acquire his ideas and knowledge merely from books. Rather, as I mentioned, he is man of action, and his ideas actually came out of his own experiment. And many also Gandhi is a very well-read man, so he read history, philosophy, religion, and others. So many of his ideas also he gained through reading, but also he practiced. The third characteristic is he was more spiritual and moral than emphasizing on intellectual aspect. So this is very much like when you talk about non-violence, when you talk about tolerance. So he gave lots of emphasis on that. He viewed life in its totality, in the sense economics, sociology, and all this, psychology, religion, and all this. He doesn't think it is very, compartment type. Rather, all are interlinked. So one place there is action, it will be reacted in another place. His public engagement as a mass leader also very important. So Gandhi has become a part of a national being. As you know, he is father of India's nation. So we respond to his name, achievements, and memory rather emotionally. It may be explained in terms of his true closeness to us, both in respect of time and space. Gandhi has even today, till today, almost, he crossed the time space and all this, because he's even today's conflicting situation, Gandhi's philosophy is becoming more relevant. So these are all very important to understand how he addressed social problems as a mass leader by engaging even publicly. Gandhi as a social scientist, though it is very unconventional to say Gandhi as a social scientist, but he's very much, because he's a creative social scientist one way, and his scientific method of observation, intuition, and intellectual hypothesis all are very relevant today. He once told Richard Gregg that he considered Western scientists not very through, because not many of them were willing to test their hypothesis on themselves. In fact, this is very important when you talk about Gandhi. he experiment most of his ideas, his philosophy on himself. And this is how he always emphasized that to change the world, you have to change yourself. Even to do anything, you have to initiate the change within yourself. And for that, lots of experiment people, scientists or leaders, they have to do on themselves. Society he viewed as an organic whole because everything interrelated, whether it is a family, how they act in a larger, in the village, or village work in the larger community, or state works with globalized society, all are very interconnected. And also same way, we can think our own life, whether religious life, office life, and all these are all interconnected. Gandhi knew that in any society there is an organic rate of change peculiar to it at that stage. He acknowledged that while certain processes in gestation may come suddenly to birth, other changes may require at least 3 generations to bring about the complete change. Though he take initiative, he doesn't think that all his action will translate into social transformation immediately. So many of his action got traction with the public and change happened, but many of his activities also we can find even today they are very much relevant. Dealing with social problem, when we talk about social problem, for example, poverty and many other, unemployment, education problem. So Gandhi has a unique approach. Gandhi's solution for the problem of poverty and unemployment is the revival of hand carding, hand spinning, and hand weaving. Gandhi was emphasizing on cottage industry, you all know, charkha and all this. So those are very much, he thought if local economy is strong, we can think of a national strong economy also. So that is how he was also emphasizing, even though these are very small work, it gives individual fulfillingness and it also generates employment. So these are his view of life, and also he thought that rural economy is very important. So rural people can be mass engaged in employment through cottage industry. So then second one which Gandhi actually worked, and today it is very important when you see wars, conflict and so many things across the globe. Gandhi actually experimented with non-violent method. In fact, freedom movement was based on non-violent method, which actually he experimented in South Africa and then applied in India. And these are the method which actually made British, the colonizer, not only leave the country, but in a very lasting way, that non-violent methods are actually very much sustainable method for coexistence. Even the enemies they get transformed with this method. So then he was also talking about social group cohesion, harmonize the difference. He worked with so many reforms where he actually between conflicting groups, between antagonized group in a very harmonious way, like his reform on caste system, Hindu-Muslim unity, and removal of untouchability. These are some of his experiments where he applied in a very harmonious way without antagonizing any community. He tried his best to bring harmony in society. Then another area of his experiment is education. You all know Noy Talim. Under this education, actually he thought education should be life-centered. It should not be based on textbook. So he was of view that we should actually focus on all these things in the life itself and make people to learn from their life through activities like handicraft and many other things. And his education also is very much employment centric and rural life, and very much in harmony with the overall life of the people, where people will be grounded. They should not, think of something that is out of, where they should get. So their needs, their means, their ends should be in harmony. Sanitation and public health. Mahatma Gandhi also, he is very much, of view that we need to have cleanliness in every sense of the word. So, and he was very much, all of you know, Gandhi used to be very punctual and maintain very cleanliness. So these are some of his hallmark when you talk about Mahatma Gandhi. And then he was also addressing some of the key issues and problems, like there was lots of issues involving religion, but he was of view that the ultimate values from religion is non-violence, and non-violence, as he mentioned, it should be experimented upon themselves. Then he also of view that God is nothing but God is truth, and truth is God. So, important contribution is he mentioned that ends and means should not be separated. You find many people, they do very good work, public work, but their means is very bad. They manage media, they manage, public relation and create a kind of a public image, but inside they are not very, positive. You find completely contradiction in many people's life. Gandhi was against that. He used to view that life should be very much truthful and honesty, and ends and means should be in harmony. Then another thing is, which already I mentioned, is non-violence. Non-violence is very much important for if you want global peace, peace between communities, peace between individuals, and these are very much time-tested philosophy and approach to various problems that we experience in everyday life. Then we'll be talking about Gandhi's methodological analysis. Gandhi, you all know, he's a very well-read person. He reads religious books, philosophy and all. So many of his ideas are also generalization in both deductive and empirical. Simultaneously is to experiment and theorize or philosophize his work, and he also reads various books and philosophy and deduct from Gita, from various religious books. He also deduct the philosophy and how it should be applied in life. When we talk about Gandhi's empirical, approach, his entire political experiment, education experiment, and social experiment are based on his own observation and experiences. And because, as you know, society is very dynamic, we cannot apply some of the theories which are already, outdated. So many of the, his experimentation are intuitive, creative, and very dynamic with, with the mobilization of the public. So we cannot do anything without involving the public, especially when you think of changing the community, nation and all. So Gandhi adopted a religious and moral approach to social problem, as you already mentioned, honesty, truth, non-violence, all these are very important, and he applied to social problems, including, anti-colonial movement, eradicating caste system and all this. So he also gave emphasis on making life as integrated whole. He is of view that we should not make life compartmental, because everything is related to everything. Since life is a concrete organic unity, all its actual phases, sectors, dimensions have to be made perceptible to the mind in their interconnectedness. The purified will is to be the source of all kinds of action, social, political, and moral. In fact, he gives emphasis on pure mind, which should not think anything bad about others and all this. So that should be the foundation for any of your activities. And he also, as I mentioned, ends and means should be in harmony. They should not contradict. And this is what I can mention briefly about Mahatma Gandhi and his way of dealing with social problems and initiate transformation for social progress and development. And there are many books. I have given only 3 here. You can read them, like Bandyopadhyay, Jayanta Nuja, Social and Political Thought of Gandhi by Allied Publishers. Then Bhattacharya, Buddhadeva. You have Evolution of Political Thought of Gandhi, which is published by Calcutta Book House. And there are many, but I have only given 3 basic books. You can read them. Thank you.